Dun, 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 dun. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I know last time was really bad with how our quality because of my location. If you haven't looked, I have posted it. It won't be in the live stream, so it'll be in the actual video section, and you can kind of catch uh, what we were talking about afterwards. Although I will warn you, the volume is pretty bad for the attendees, and I'm the only one that actually is kind of loud. So sorry about that. I wish there was some way I could fix it, but now I know next time to bring two microphones so that I can do this properly. Um, Joining us, like always, is our great friends. We got Jessica.
Hi there.
We have Vinny.
Hello, hello.
We have Albert.
Konnichiwa.
And we have Dragon.
Woo, hello.
Dragon's finally back.
Yes.
You weren't here last again, Dragon. Shout out to all of those, our old friends, Nick, Sean, and hope you guys are all doing well and fine. And then maybe even some of our older friends, Tripley and such, Nathan G, Mike. But let's go ahead and get started with this new season. We're here to talk about the spring season of 2024. And to start off, we're going to go down the list with Astronaut. And it looks like Albert is the only person that's fully invested in it somewhat.
Okay, so Astronaut is a anime original, and it is put out by Telecom Animation Films. They've done a bunch of things, so the name might not be as familiar as Mappa or Madhouse, but they've definitely been around. So the basic story is a little weird. I watched the first episode at SakuraCon when Crunchyroll had their 5 premieres. And since I've continued to watch the second episode, it is quirky. I like it. It reminds me of kind of a throwback to the rom-coms of the 80s and 90s, except there's a sci-fi twist, which is not really hidden. It's right there in the first episode. Spaceship is in some sort of battle and comes to Earth. It's 5 seconds maybe of pretty decent animation. And then we cut to this guy, Takumi, who was let go from his job. I think it closed or something because it was a black business. He's a chef, and he's looking for a job, and he happens to come for an interview at a boarding house of all the places because they're looking for a chef to live in and cook the meals for the boarding house residents, which he didn't really know about because the ad was really poorly written. But he wants to get out of there, but then he catches sight of the house. Was she the housekeeper? Or is she the owner?
I think that they call them the caretakers.
Okay, yeah, so she's the caretaker, who is Mira, a very beautiful young woman, and he instantly has a change of heart, and he's like, okay, I could do this for a bit, So, meanwhile, apparently Mira, who is the alien that crash landed, she is looking for something, and her companion dog is not really a dog. So it's wacky. They're trying to hide the fact that they're aliens. Meanwhile, the residents of the boarding house are all quirky. They're like an underground idol, unemployed father, his grade school son that seems to be pretty smart, an elderly resident that's been there forever and wants to take the dog out for a walk all the time, although a dog, clearly not a dog, but pretending to be a dog, does not want to go. And there's a couple of other people there too. So the color palette is slightly is it pastel? I don't know. The color palette is very pleasing to the eye. The animation so far in the 2 episodes is good. It's quirky. There are plenty of gag faces, so their face will deform to extreme lengths. So if you're not familiar with that or into that, then this might not be for you. But if you want just a old-fashioned rom-com with a weird twist, then you might want to check out at least the first 2 episodes and see if you like it. Always supporting anime originals if possible. That's it.
So I've only seen the first episode, and like you said, it gave that heavy old school vibe. I was remembering of Meisani Koku from back in the day, and especially with the other roommates that they have around and their silly antics that do happen. So it was very, very fun. I do plan on watching it, but I would say that because of how other, I guess, ecchi anime posters are, I kind of thought this was going to be another one of those ecchi shows, but surprisingly it wasn't. It was really
So far, no fan service.
So I was really surprised with how it was and how it played out, because I was thinking of it was going to be more like a, I don't know if you guys have seen Temple or something like that had,
Oh,
because it kind of gave me that
yeah.
same vibe with how it showed the poster image and such. So I was very misled, but I'm happy it's turning out the way it is, and I do definitely want to pick it up. For anyone who's wondering about those types of shows, there was quite a lot of them back in the day, like Maburaha Days. The Pet of Sakura Soul was another one, I think, right? That have this like
That
kind of
was-
shared housing.
Sure. I mean, dorm life, right? Sakura Soul is dorm life. But yeah, it's they have that, but this boarding instead of a school dorm, a boarding house is any resident they can pay. So it's like an apartment, but it has a larger kitchen, dining area, a shared area, and there may or may not be someone that cooks for them, but yeah, it's a shared area.
Yeah. So that's definitely like Mahoraba. I don't know if anyone's ever seen that. Which is
It's fun.
which is a really fun show as well. So if you look for kind of shows like that, there's actually quite a bit of them out there that are kind of old. But I definitely do want to. Let's hope that it continues to be something good. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one, which I kind of have questions about. It's a show called Bartender.
I'm the only one that's watching it,
I guess.
I believe. So the reason I started just watching it was because I used to bartend in college. That was my part-time job. So I was just curious to see how well, the bar scene would be animated. So Bartender centers around this guy named Ryu. He's just returned from overseas and he's working as a bartender. Meanwhile, so it's based on a manga, a long-running manga, I believe, and it's been adapted before, and I think there's a live-action TV drama also. So kind of curious about all of that. However, I just wanted to see how it would, play out. In this case, it starts off with a different character, girl. What was her name? Miwa. She is in a very large hotel group or very fancy hotel group called Hotel Cardinal, and she's been tasked to find the perfect bartender for the lounge bar that they want to open. So the hotel is already open, but they don't have the bar open, which is a big problem, right? So he's been interviewing all these people, and they all kind of fail, and all the bartenders that they've tested lacks something, and her grandfather, I believe, who is the owner of the hotel, insists on someone that can serve the glass of the gods, meaning a perfect cocktail that you want at that time without even telling the bartender what you want, right? So this impossible order. But she ends up finding Ryu in this basement bar, just bartending, and she has an amazing experience. Despite at first thinking, oh, he's just normal, he's just serving me this plain old drink, but it's the perfect thing that she needed at that time from being beaten down over this find the bartender task that she was tasked with. So, and then she is trying to recruit him as of episode 3. I think she hasn't quite managed that. So it's interesting in that way. The animation for the characters are not top notch. However, the bar scene is actually pretty good. They do a lot of things in the bar. I'm pretty sure a lot of it is CG assisted. But like the pouring of the drinks, the making of the drinks, even when he's wiping down the wooden counter, and it's so varnished that you could see his reflection. All of that is animated really well. So I'm gonna continue it for the time being. I'm not that interested in the story, but I just kind of have it interest in how well they can keep up the cocktail animation. So if you are interested in bartending or cocktails or any of that kind of thing, check it out. But it's not going to be everyone's cup of tea, and it's not the best animation or best anime or best voice acting for all of that. But it does a decent job for a very niche audience. So far, I'm enjoying it. That's it.
Did you ever watch the other bartender show?
No.
So, I believe Bartender came out way back in the day, and I did watch a few episodes of it, and surprisingly what you're describing is very different from it, because it seemed to me in the other season, every single episode was like its own story, where a patron comes down to the bar, and it kind of gives this like story of why he's haggard or why he's having problems, or just a general overview of what's happening. And then he meets the bartender, they have a little talk, and as they're talking, the bartender then pulls, oh, I know what you need, and he'll get you this drink. And they kind of go through the story and tales like why this drink would be good, what it represents, and visually they represent the drinks really well. And it was really fun because instead of having to be caught in this overarching story, you could just enjoy each episode and just get this little story of like how this person and why he ended up in this situation to have this chance meeting with this amazing person. And I was kind of thinking that this might be just a continuation of that, but now it kind of seems it's going to be a little different.
Yeah, I'm not sure how it fits into the timeline of things, but they do a little of what you said. I think episode 2, there was a lady, a lawyer that comes in, and she's all wet and haggard from the rain, and he makes her the perfect thing. And then episode 3, I think, is where he accidentally meets the hotel owner, the grandfather. And yeah, so there's a little bit of that, but yeah, not having watched the previous one, I don't know how it ties in. So it's a fresh start if you want to check it out.
Yeah, but they definitely do try to give you this calm and relaxing environment when you're actually at the bartender scenes, which is really nice. And that's kind of why I decided not to pick this up, because I already saw the first season. Hence, not all of it, but I saw enough that I was pleased with what I saw. That's why I didn't pick this one up. But I might have to go back and check and out and see how they compare to each other. Next up, we'll have Dragon start with this one because I feel like Dragon is like plays this every single day. The Blue Archive, the animation.
I mean, I don't really play this as much as like another person in our friend group. But I guess I can start. So, Blue Archive is set in a world where these girls are in schools, but it's not just any ordinary school. They kind of they fight against each other for, I guess, takeover is one aspect of it, but it's mostly schools for learning like gun tactics. So it's one of those shows where it's cute girls doing not so cute things. um, I don't know what else to really say. I guess if you kind of find that aspect of cute girls doing like kind of like more actiony stuff interesting, this is an interesting show for you. If you dive into the game a bit, you will understand why so many people love the story of the game and are hoping for great things in the future of this anime. We do get a hint of why some people like the story of this game right at the beginning, and it's pretty much because of tragedy. So this is probably going to be a hooking point for Tank.
So, I do play the game, and I did watch at least the first 2 episodes of the anime, and I can't say I remember anything, because I think when I first started this, I was in the rush to just get through it as fast as I can to level up, so I skipped the story. So that's kind of the biggest interest for me in this, is maybe learning about the story, so I'm hoping that it kind of just goes over the general points that I need to enjoy this game a little bit more. But as I'm seeing, it's a kind of complicated thing because I still have so much questions, like the things above their heads. I guess people are calling them halos and such, and the fact that I guess characters don't die, I don't get it. And even the thing is, like I saw in the anime, which I never noticed in the game, is that there's really no other humans except for those girls with the halos. It's all like animal beast or people. It's just so weird. So
the only humans that we do see are some of like are the girls, and then also technically the sensei, which is supposed to represent you in the game.
Yeah, but it has a lot of like iconic moments and iconic scenes that are in the game. So those are really fun to see, 'cause like as you're watching, you're like, oh, I recognize that shot. Oh, I recognize this. So it does have that really fun aspect of being able to catch these fun moments. But other than that, I'm still really confused on what this story is really about. So I may have to go to the game and see if I can play
at the
history.
beginning. Oh, sorry. What were you gonna say, Tech?
I was just gonna say that I'll probably have to go back and see the history of the story on the phone game and see if it matches or whatnot. But
I guess currently right now it's not really showing like the main story portion that you will kind of see. It'll probably take a while just because a lot of the stuff that people are much into are like the later portions of the main story.
yeah, and I know from the game there's at least like, I don't know if they're schools, but probably like 5 other schools or five other factions. So,
Yeah.
we'll see how that plays out in the show, or how far they'll even go. Because I do know there's a main story section, and then there's the gameplay section. So I'm hoping I can go back, like I said, and watch that. But what about you, Vinny?
I think I played about a total of about 5 minutes of the game before I chucked it a long time ago. And I decided to watch the anime because, well, Princess Connect's anime was so well done. I figured, well, at least it's worth giving a shot. It's not as polished as the Princess Connect, but having said that, it is pretty cute series so far. And I like the fact that those characters are not completely one-dimensional. So there's that. And I think I mentioned Dragon before that I really like the ending music. It has that 80s synthesizer, which somehow fits pretty well. So I'll keep on watching for now and see how it goes. So right now it's basically an introduction part about getting to know your main characters and the senseis. As Tank mentioned, it is supposed to be the representation of you as the controller within the game, which there's a lot of same equivalents in other game series as well. But yeah, so so far it's interesting.
All right, so let's go to the next show. Can we skip the banishment? Former hero lives as he pleases, because it doesn't look like anyone's watched it 100%. Does
I mean,
anyone really wanna
I
talk
don't
about it?
recognize it.
No, you can skip it. It's pretty mediocre at best.
That's what I was thinking. Like, I was hoping for something better. And I'm going to skip Dungeon Meshi, because that's just a continuation from last time.
Yeah.
Last season.
Like, I guess the only quick note would be if you're already watching Dunmesh, you're probably just going to continue watching it.
But I do want to talk about this show, because I'm interested. I don't think I've seen anyone else that has seen it, at least. Girls Band Cry. What is that, Dragon? What is it?
Well, I guess it makes me think of another anime that's happening this season just because it deals with music. But it's about... I'm trying to kind of remember it because I only watched one episode and it's been a while since I watched it, but it's... I think a girl is from either... Probably... It was either from the countryside or just, like, trying to, like, go live in the city with her relatives, but then she kind of just doesn't know what to do, and she kind of, like, wanders off on her own, trying to, like, figure out what she wants to do. And, while she's walking through the city, she, like, hears, like, trying to follow, actually, I think, like, I think a band, and I think she's been wanting to, join into the music scene, but she just doesn't know where to start. And as she's, like, going through the city, she's, like, thinking about, like, how am I gonna do this? Like, should I just give up on this dream of, like, going into music and, like, just, becoming just a normal person? But she comes across one of the guitar player of the band that she was following, and finds out that the guitar player has been kicked out of the band, and the guitar player is actually moving and is thinking about just giving up music at this point. But it's kind of like that whole scenario where like do I give up on the dream? But then it's like there's this one chance that I might have a grasp on the dream, and I need to take it. So her and the other girl kind of going up together to then kind of foreign band. But the interesting part of this anime is that it's done in 3D, and people were making comparisons, or as I was looking up on like social media, people were making comparisons of this anime to how it's done for Ruby, and people were like kind of thinking, oh, like on some aspects of Ruby, like it just doesn't work because of little details that Girls Band Cry does, which is like little like lighting, like the white lighting in their eyes. And honestly, the 3D is actually not bad, and it's actually like pretty enjoyable.
All right. And then the next thing here, which is another dragon. Well, I guess some of us have started it. Let me see here.
Oh, a condition called love.
Yeah, this show here. It's kind of big for the sign, but oh well.
I actually haven't continued it since the first episode.
So I did watch the second one, but yeah. So a condition called Love, which I thought was going to be really nice and sweet, but turned
That's
out
what I was thinking
to
too.
be completely different. I was kind of expecting something along the lines of like maybe a Kimi no Toroke or just something that makes me go, ah, this. Yeah.
I was thinking something similar of like Insomniacs After School.
Yeah, or even what was that last show? The Yamada-kun, level
Oh,
99.
Dangerous in My Heart?
No, Yamada-kun's level 99.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. The game one. Yeah, it's the other one with the name Yamada.
Yeah,
level 99. Yamada. Yeah.
Yeah, where it still had this romance aspect, but kind of had other things. But this is totally different, and so far it hasn't been too interesting. This girl. Let me see. Give me a second. Let me see if I can pull up their names because I don't even remember their names. Hotaru. I think, what are they in high school, right? The first year of high school or something like that?
I believe high school, yeah.
She happens to witness a classmate being dumped in some kind of cafe or something. And then she goes out and sees him sitting out in the snow, heartbroken, and offers him an umbrella, I believe it was. And now he's infatuated with Hotaru and asks her to date him, like, as soon as he meets her again. And she's kind of flabbergasted because, whoa, where did this come out of the blue? Plus, she also has this conflict where she kind of doesn't understand love, She's one of those...
I wouldn't say that isn't the only thing. Is that she's... She kind of, like, her mind wanders. Because remember, like, in the cafe, like, she doesn't really, I guess, try to follow, like, what's going around her. She's more kind of, like, just, I guess, unintentionally just focusing on stuff that's, like, for her. Like, when she was in the cafe and she saw the main guy being breaking up with his, like, I guess, the current girlfriend that he had at the time. Like, her friend was paying attention to it, but then, she went straight back to just eating her little dessert in the cafe. Like, she could not care less about what was going on, about, like, outside stuff.
Yeah, so she's very, I guess we'd say, indifferent to those around her. But she makes a deal with them for some reason. I can't remember why, to date him till Christmas or something like that, or the end of the year. I can't remember which one.
That detail.
And so she doesn't understand what to do. Plus, the boy is acting really weird. He's always like doing everything above and beyond what she would think is normal. And I don't know. It's really weird how to explain this show. Um, it it makes me kind of want to say it has a yandere aspect, but I'm not 100% sure if that's really going to manifest or whatnot, or if it's just that the boy doesn't know how to express his love except for in the major, with all of his heart or all of his might. But it's just a strange show. We'll just leave it at that. So, if you're looking for a sweet romance, I don't think this is going to be it. At least not to start off with. But what do you think?
So I think. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Somehow watched the first episode and I absolutely hated it. I mean, there's a plenty of series that's mediocre, some middling, and what have you, but this is actually one of those series that really got on my nerve as I was watching it. The reasoning's too forced, the characters are too cringy or too unhinged, and I didn't like how their interaction went. I guess I expected a little bit more of a sweetness when it comes to high school romance, but this is anything but. It just got on my nerve big time. I don't like the main character. Girl is okay, but I did not like the guy at all. And I just want to purge this one out of my memory if I can. And that's about all I can say, really.
Yeah. As though I hate it. I hate this show. I swear, School Days has a better love story than it.
And I agree with that.
So, let's see how it. I actually probably won't see because I'm not going to watch this. I don't think, unless I hear something like amazing happens later on. But let's go ahead and go to the next show. Yeah, too bad. So sad for whatever that show's name was again. Next up is this one, which is a crazy show, A Solid Bowl of Eccentrics, also known as Henjin no Salad Bowl. So, yeah. The character designs are from Kantoku, which is one of my favorite artistes. I'll admit I didn't catch it at the beginning, but I collect all the books of Kantoku, so I'm really happy with this. But it's also a reverse isekai, which I guess isn't too surprising nowadays, as we've had a few of them, right? But this is definitely a geared towards comedy, and just by the crazy antics that happen. But we'll start off in the other world where Princess and her knight, I believe, are running away from the enemy, and to escape, she jumps into this. I would kind of say, like. I don't know how to explain it. I don't think it was like a dark hole or anything. It was kind of purplish, if anything. But she jumps into it and then is transported into our world and meets, I don't know his name. What is his name?
Are you really watching it?
Yeah, but Sosuke? That was his name? Okay, yeah, Sosuke. I meet Sosuke, which is private detective, and he mostly deals with, or I guess private investigators, more accurate, right? Rather than detective. But where he kind of focuses on a lot of infidelity cases and looking into that such. And in one of his stakeouts, he runs into Sada, who is the princess, and as they're discussing and talking about where she is, what's happening, he learns, of course, with her display of magic and such, that who she really is, and he decides to somewhat pick her up and take her. I can't remember if she kind of pressured him into it. I think it was because if he didn't, she would erase his mind or memory, which could also affect his long-time memory. So he decides to keep with her and to help her. But little do they know is that her knight also was transported, and she ends up becoming a homeless person in Japan. And the antics with her are really funny in this show, with her being homeless and how she survives, and how Sarah is adapting to our world and also the world of manga and anime, and how she has skewed views on things because of that. But it's just a funny show with these isekai people in our world, and how they're trying to adapt, and there's just so much going on that it's hard to explain everything that's happening, but it's been very fun. I don't know, maybe if Albert could do it better, but I believe he's a little busy. Let me see, who else watched this? Vinny. Did you drop it?
No, I'm behind on that series. I watched the first episode. I've been trying to catch up, but there's so many things.
Ah. What about you, Dragon?
I think I only watched the first episode of the salad one.
Alright, so. But, yeah, this show is just a treasure box of tropes all throughout. You even have, like, the old lady, or adult lady, I should say, that's looks like a lolly character. Actually, I swear almost all those girls look like lolly characters, and she's even like 20-some years old or something. So you have those. You have battles going on. It's like I said, it's a crazy story that's you're just gonna have to try to catch and check out. It is based off of a light novel, so you can kind of guess how crazy it can get. But so far there's 4 episodes released, and it's not too bad. No one else wants to say anything? So okay, then let's drill Jessica for this show here.
Uh-oh.
I do have one question before you start.
Okay.
You said you watched the movies, right?
Yes, I
So-
had originally... Oh, go. Sorry, finish your question first.
I was just wondering, like, are the movies like a synopsis of what happens in the series? Is that it, or?
Yes. Yes. Movies 1 and 2 will synopsize the first and second seasons. And then there's Liz and the Bluebird. And then there's movie 3/4, I guess, which is Kumiko's second year of high school. And you need to watch that 4th movie, I think, in order to understand what's going on in the 3rd season. Because in the 3rd season, Kumiko is in her 3rd year. She's actually captain of or president of the band club and whatnot. However, if you have not yet seen the Sound Euphonium series, I do not recommend watching the first 2 movies, because they're really... They're pretty much completely stripped out of most of the nuance and getting to know the characters. They're not a good substitute for watching the whole 13 episodes. So I would say start at the beginning, watch the 3rd and 4th films, and then watch the 3rd season.
All right.
But it's really good. And since it's the 3rd season of a long-running show, I think that if you have seen the previous season or 1st season and you didn't like it, there's not going to be anything here for you. It's not one of those, oh, it gets better. It's pretty much great, and it stays great throughout the series. So I'm in love with it. I'm a big Sound Euphonium fan. I even bought the crazy overpriced Pony Can Blu-rays way back in the day, when this was first released in English. So yeah, this is definitely a favorite of mine for this season.
That's a dedication.
Yes.
So I would have
My
to.
wallet sobs.
So the only thing I would ask, another thing is like, is it like each season is a different year? Is that how it seems to be planning out?
Yes.
Well, seasons 1 and 2 are both the Kumiko's first year. And then the movie 4 is her second year. And then season 3 is her third year.
Oh, okay.
So her second year is pretty condensed in terms of everything that happens, but I actually thought the movie was pretty good.
All right. And I guess the only other thing I would like to mention is that this really doesn't focus on like how other club animes are teaching you about what's going on, right? Or teaching you about the instruments. It's more about competitions,
No.
right?
Yeah, I am not a musical individual, and I had no idea that a euphonium was even an instrument before I started watching this series. But it doesn't really go into much of the nuts and bolts of band competitions and the how to play the instruments or teaching you along with the characters. It's Kumiko, I think, has been playing the euphonium since she was in grade school or middle school, so she's very skilled, and doesn't have a, oh, I want to learn how to play this instrument arc at all. It's more about the drama and the internal politics of the band and then the actual competitions themselves than learning how to play music or being interested in music through it.
And
It's basically more about the struggle to perform at a very high level of skill.
And if I remember correctly, this was from KyoAni, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So it has a lot of really beautiful scenes in it, right? Does it still have that?
Oh my goodness. Yes. Very much so. The instruments are gorgeous, and the quality, having watched all the movies back to back and then starting with the third season, it's similar. It's the quality has definitely been maintained, and there's no peaks and valleys in terms of, oh, well, the movie is so much better or anything like that. It's really consistent.
Anything to add, Vinny? Because you're the only other one that's watched it, I believe, right?
Yeah. Yeah, one of the newer characters, the one that I like, is Kanade, and whether it's by intentional or not, they chose the voice actress say that's same as Aqua, and I'm like watching her talking, and I'm like, oh my god, it's an Aqua. Aside from that, season 3 still looks great, and they are using a little bit more of a 3D CGI into the series than before, but it blends in quite well. I'll say pay attention to the parts where they're riding subway carts, where if they're standing and holding onto the handrail, or that's dangling handrail, the one they're holding is hand drawn, whereas other handrails that jiggling around, those are CGIs. But they managed to blend in well enough so that you don't really notice it. And I thought that was pretty neat tricks they are using, because most of the time, when you see the CGI animations on those moving parts, even the characters turn into CGIs instead of the other way around. And other parts is that in the latest episode, there's a sequence where talking, there's two characters talking outside, and as they're talking, there's a car approaching, And since it's dark at night, there's headlight that's reflecting on them. And as the car is moving, you can see their reflections changes to accommodate the changing direction of the car. That's something that's completely unneeded, unnecessary for the sake of the conversation, but it kind of gives that something along the line of a mood setting. As their conversation changes, that light reflection changing kind of fits pretty well. And those are the things that you don't ever see in any of the TV animation, because simply it just takes so much manpower to just have that incorporated. And that's where you kind of see that greatness of a OreAni is still resonating. And I am happy for them that they are still doing all that stuff that you don't expect to see elsewhere.
I guess my final question for you two then would be, because this was really heavy in the first season, was like, I kind of want to say it's kind of like a shoujo ai thing, where I swear they had a lot of Yuri, just skirting the line of Yuri, where these girls get so close that you're like, are they going to kiss? Of course it never happens. But you get this feeling that, oh my god, it's going to happen, but it eventually leads to nothing. Is that still prevalent within the whole thing? Going up to season 3?
The emphasis, there's not as much emphasis, but what is really funny is that the freshmen actually sit down and ask Kumiko, hey, are you and Reina dating? Because you seem really close. And Kumiko says, no, we're not. Because I remember being Yuri baited back in the day. And it's just, I think Reina is one of those people who's really physically affectionate. And so she still does that, but it's not as emphasized, I think, as it was in the first season at all. But I think it's kind of funny that even the freshmen are kind of calling him out for it.
Well, they're kind of bumping onto each other's butt as they're walking by, so they're bound to catch up to that.
I will say that when I was in high school, that was kind of a thing that you did with your friends who happened to be girls, is you just walk by and smack them on the butt. So I don't know.
Wasn't that the Rikuris Recoil opening, right? They kick each other in the butt.
yeah. Which, yeah, that is a thing that, or at least it was when I was in school.
Nice. Let's go ahead and go to the next show then. And this was actually another show that surprised me with how much it disappointed me. And this one's Ji-san, Ba-san, Wakagaeru, or Grandpa and Grandma Turn Young Again. And I was disappointed from episode 1, so I haven't watched any more. I don't know if it gets better or not, but it's an old couple. I think they were like in their 70s or so that live on a farm. One day wake up and all of a sudden they're young again, back to their maybe 20s or so, mid-20s. And but they still act as if they're their old selves in their conversations. And they even, I don't know, it kind of started annoying me where they kind of end their sentences with this like and always answer everything with this weird, like, as if they're trying to act like they're old with their language. And it was just, it kind of annoyed me a little bit, but I was expecting more out of it, but it just, it seemed to be very plain. I mean, they go meet everyone else in the village and they're very accepting of what happened. Like, oh, you guys are young again. That's so fun. And then they just continue on. like, okay, aren't there going to be questions? Whatever, but and of course, for some odd reason, his grandchildren are now like what in love with him because of how handsome he is now, or something weird like that. And they do have these antics of like now that he's young, all the people are gathering around him, but she's like, oh, it's an old soul, you know, there's nothing to worry about. So I don't know, it just seems to me that the comedy doesn't hit the mark for me, and so I'm not enjoying this as much as I thought I would.
Hmm.
And it's not that I don't think the grandma's hot, Vinny. It's, I think it's I don't like her language or her speech
You know,
patterns.
you know what? Here's a counterpoint. You know, if they became young overnight, and if they start talking like how they were back in their younger days, it presents a different kind of problem. Because A, does that mean their mental maturity also regressed? And B, assuming they're talking in their older self, that means that they're talking in a tongue that's more appropriate to back in 1950s. So it's still gonna sound old, no matter what. And it's not one of those convenient isekai plot where everything's pretty much spoon-fed to you. So in that regards, I thought this was actually more funnier take than having everything just conveniently rewinded back into their younger self, and somehow they're talking contemporary,
But-
which makes no sense.
But here's the thing about it: like, I didn't notice any of the other old people talking in the same weird dialect that they were. Like, I would admit, if all of them had that kind of talk, I would accept it.
Mhm.
But it seemed like only those two were the ones that were using that.
Maybe they're just the old soul to begin with, because they were talking like that even before they turned young. So it's not like they decide to have that old weird goes out to talk once they physically became young.
I don't.
And as for the granddaughter, I mean the granddaughter and her mother, so which would be their daughter, seemingly has a heart for those the idol male groups, and since their grandfather now looks like one of those casting members, which I kind of find it a little bit of chuckle worthy. Yes, it's not. It kind of encroaches into the weirdness of like, do you really want to fall in love with your immediate family member? But casting that aside, I could see why they're kind of going ooh gaga over. So I'll probably give it a shot. I'm just a little behind on that series, but I'll try to watch a few more episodes before deciding whether it's worth to keep on watching or not.
What about you, Dragon?
I only watched one episode, but it seems just like kind of okay. I might give it a couple more episodes to see what happens, but I might just read the manga instead.
I see. Okay, let's go to the next show, which is, I swear, has a lot of advertisement push in it. On Crunchyroll, at least. Kaiju 8.
Yeah, this is a weird one. I get the feeling that this is tailor-made for Western audiences, and I was hoping I could get your guys' opinion on it for anyone else who's seen it. So it looks like Dragon and Vinny have both seen it, because the opening is in English and the ending is in English. It's airing... Crunchyroll's doing this weird thing where they're airing the English dub first, and then several hours later, the episode comes out in Japanese, which really threw me at first. And I just feel like, I don't know, that's the vibe I'm getting. So I wanted to know what you guys felt about it too. And that's not to say that a show tailor-made for Western audiences can't be good. They can, but I don't know. I'm just not liking this one very much, and I'm thinking it's going to be the first casualty of the season for me.
I'm still watching it right now. I'm
Yeah.
still on the first episode. I'm like maybe 16 minutes into the first episode, and um, I don't know. I think it's been okay so far. It's been, I guess, like kind of like me just a bit, but all the trailers made it seem interesting. So that's why I was very interested in seeing it for the first time. But I didn't know that they made the English dub come out first, and also like all the openings and endings were in English. Because I haven't
Mhm.
reached the ending yet, so I haven't heard the ending song.
Oh, okay. Well, it'll be really interesting to get your take once you finish the first episode, because I actually really liked the beginning of the first episode.
Mm,
Because
yeah,
the premise,
it's been really good so far on the first episode. So that's why I was like
yeah,
interesting to hear you say like, oh, it's like it seems like it's very tailored to like Western audience. I was like, oh.
yeah, and I think you'll see what I mean when you finish the first episode, but basically the premise is that kaiju are just a thing that happens, and in Japan the self-defense force is primarily made to fight kaiju. And the main character of the story is someone who wanted to go in the self-defense force, but he didn't cut the mustard. And so instead he's stuck working cleanup crew, because whenever these kaiju are killed, you have to dispose of their bodies. And that right there I thought was a really interesting premise. And I thought, oh, so this is going to be a series about him and having to clean up these jobs and kind of doing mundane, adult stuff. That's really cool. That's really cool. And then it turns into not that. So I was a bit disappointed because it felt like
Oh,
a bait and
okay.
it really felt like a bait and switch to me. I don't know that that's the intent of the show, but I was pretty disappointed with.
I think I get what you mean. I guess what you were expecting was like more focus on, I guess, kind of like a almost slice of life, but within this like, weird kaiju like universe. It's like, oh, it's like this is
Yeah.
just a normal job. It's like, and we're just gonna like basically like see what, the aftermath of like what we usually see in like kaiju movies, like all these people fighting against kaijus, like what happens to all like, the dead kaijus, like how do they
Yeah.
clean up? And so I guess your thought process was the whole series is just like, gonna be about him and his team cleaning up, and we're just gonna experience like what their day-to-day life is like
Kind of.
regarding that, right?
And I thought it might start a conversation about what it's like to have dreams and not be able to realize them. And how does one deal with the fallout of having failed? And that is, to me, is way more interesting than let's fight some kaiju, woo! Which, don't get me wrong, I love kaiju as much as the next anime nerd, and I do like the, fighting scenes and all of that stuff. But when the episode kind of got me in this particular line of thought, only to pull the rug out from under me and say, oh, well, that boring stuff that was actually kind of interesting, maybe we're not doing that. We're doing the kaiju shit now. And so I was pretty disappointed. That's just me.
I guess in that aspect, I can kind of see why you're saying it's tailored to the Western audience. Just because if we look at the current like take of like Godzilla by Legendary Pictures, which is the Western studio, it's all like like, oh, like, monsters fighting, woo, let's go. So I guess in that aspect, I can kind of see why you would think it's more tailored to a Western audience.
Okay.
Yeah, Vinny, do you have anything to say about it?
Nope, you guys nailed it.
Oh, okay. Are you dropping it then?
Probably. It's not gonna be something I'm gonna watch voluntarily.
Voluntarily. Tank, I
Yes.
smell an opportunity.
Oh, I'm not even watching it.
Okay.
I haven't
Did
even
you read the
started.
manga?
Yeah, I read the
Okay.
manga.
Yeah, so I'm still reading the manga. The manga's a lot of fun. The reason I don't pick this up is because I really dislike the character design, and when they dropped the
Yeah.
PV, I did not really care for the way the animation actually looked or the characters looked or moved,
Mm.
and I was worried that based on I mean, I can see where the first arc is going. But you need like the second and a third season by now to actually, get to meteor stories, and I wasn't sure they're going to be able to keep it up, especially since I don't like the designing process. So that's why I did not even pick it up. But I do recommend the manga. It's a lot of fun. The action scenes are great in the manga. So
All right. Let's go ahead and skip the next one, which is the Gods games we play. Because I don't think that's
Yeah.
worth talking about.
I only watched that one episode from Anime Night. I never touched it again.
yeah, this was also premiered at SakuraCon at the Crunchyroll panel, and I hated it. I just hated the first episode, so it's bad.
Yeah.
Not worth discussing then.
Yeah, I think what was it? Yeah, no. Okay, let's go to the next one then. Yatagarasu, the raven does not choose its master, or also known as Karasu wa Aruji wo Arabanai.
Did anybody else get some 12 Kingdom vibes watching this one?
A little bit, yeah.
Just a little bit.
12
Yeah.
Kingdoms? No, I don't
Yeah. Well, it reminded me of that because when I was watching it, I didn't know what it was based on, but it felt like this is definitely based on a novel. And it is. And it's just that kind of long form fantasy vibe that I got with 12 Kingdoms is what made me think of it a little bit.
Oh. No, honestly, the biggest vibe I got was from the Raven of the Inner Palace. I kept on yelling mysterious while we were watching it.
Oh no.
No, I don't get that, but
I know,
to each their own, I guess.
But just because of the Ravens. But yeah, I don't know. Who wants to start this one up? I think Vinny, how about you start us on this?
I think Jess might be the best one to talk about this one. She's been looking forward to it.
I don't know about that. Let's see. Oh,
Aren't
crap.
period
And all
dramas
of the,
yours type of thing, right?
they totally are. And every single character's name has just left my mind now, because that's how my mind works. But
I mean, it's a lot of
basically,
Chinese names, so.
well, I thought they were Japanese names.
I thought they were Chinese.
No, they're Japanese. It's Japanese folklore versus Chinese folklore.
Yeah.
Oh.
And it's very much reminiscent of the Heian period with the clothing and everything. But basically, it takes place in an alternate Japan adjacent fantasy world, maybe, where gigantic ravens that can turn into people or people that can turn into gigantic ravens rule the roost, pun definitely intended. And there's an imperial court with 4 different families, each vying for political power. And one of the ways they do that is try to marry their daughters off to the emperor. And what it seems like is that each one of the 4 families supplies a daughter, and the emperor or emperor-to-be will choose one of them to be his first wife, and then the other 3 become his concubines. Not 100% sure on that, but that's sort of what is implied. And so there are there's the emperor, a bunch of other little ravens running around, and the 4 potential empresses, who are the main focus of the story. And it's almost all political, so I would say that if that's not your jam, you will not like this. It's a lot of conversation, a lot of talk, a lot of backstabbing and palace intrigue, and oh my goodness, can you see that she wore the wrong color of robe to the meeting? Oh, what a barbarian kind of stuff. But I really like it a lot. Oh, and also the ending song is sung by the same lady who does all of the Artonelico music. So check that out if you like Artonelico in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah. I don't know. Based on what you said earlier, the 12 Kingdoms, I don't know. I honestly can't see it. Like, how did you think it was?
It just
or...
let me put it this way: the 12 Kingdoms are written by Noriko Ogiwara, and I just felt that this particular story had similar roots in terms of her writing style and the pacing. The Yatagarasu novels are not written by her, but the emphasis on characters and the language used during their conversations, and so much of the anime is conversations between different characters and whatnot, and that's kind of why I felt it was 12 Kingdoms-y. Is it felt like Noriko Ogiwara's writing style, and she's also written Dragon Sword and Wind Child, that's part of the Magatama trilogy. So that's kind of why I made the connection that isn't really there.
I see.
It's not a surface level comparison. It's more about the literary comparisons, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll say this as I was watching it. The first episode, honestly, did seem a little bland to me, because that was I think setting up the whole conflict. That's probably the overarching arc in this story. So I knew it was necessary, but it didn't really catch me into the show. It wasn't until we met the little boy that's now being his aide or whatever, the guy who went to help the prince, that actually started catching my interest and making everything a little more interesting as we're seeing how he interacts and how he learns his roles and such, and especially with his defiant nature and.
He's a really interesting character because he's extremely manipulative and clever, but it kind of bites him in the ass in the end.
And if you've been watching a lot of superficial or supernatural, I should say, animes, the Karasu or Yatagarasu is in a lot of those. So another thing that actually kind of made me interested in was like, aren't they typically like protectors of the Tengu or something like that too, or in mythology?
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure, but they are somehow tied to the Tengu.
So I was kind of also interested in seeing if anything like that would also appear. So there's a lot of things that are very interesting in this show, but I definitely will say that my interest is more towards the prince and the boy and how they're going to go through, because every time it goes into the conflict of the I guess the what do you call them, because they're not concubines yet, but the love interest,
potential brides.
The potential brides. That stuff doesn't really interest me so much. So it is a little bit entertaining to see how they're trying to one up each other, but like I said, that's not what's really doing it for me. So I can't wait to see.
And that's it's definitely fair to say that the first episode isn't gonna knock your socks off. The character designs and the clothes are really nice, but there's not a lot of flashy animation. The animation is just, mid-tier, I would say, so it's not gonna immediately grab your attention when you start watching it. It's definitely a slow burn.
Yeah, but definitely that second episode really caught my interest, especially with how that boy
Yeah.
played and
I think
did
he's
everything.
yeah. He's one of the more interesting and compelling characters.
But yeah, we'll see how things go. I do believe it kind of seems like there might be he might have some kind of something to do with one of the concubines or two of them. I can't remember exactly how it was shown, so I'm kind of interested to see how that would happen, how that's going to play out in the future. But other than that, it is pretty entertaining once you get past the whole first episode. But other than that, I honestly don't know where the end game is going to go, so I'm just going to have to keep on watching. Anyone else have anything to say, or should we go to the next one? Let's go to the next one. Everyone's favorite show. Oh my god. I will say I am surprised that after watching this, you do have to have watched, what was it? The movie, right? For Kunosuba.
Oh yes, the movie.
Okay, I haven't seen the movie yet.
Because right off the bat,
God.
they reference events that happened within his flashback of like previously. So definitely check out the movie before going to season 3, right after season 2, and you'll be okay to go. If you don't, you'll be wondering why certain events are happening at the beginning. But
Okay.
other than that, it's just more of Kazuma's amazingness. That's all I can say. He's like, I don't want to be Kirito when I grow up. I want to be Kazuma when I grow up. That's how I feel. Because his life, although tormented as it is in a lot of moments, it just seems so much more fun. And along with all the friends that he has, so you have anything to say, Vinny?
I mean, if you watch the first season and second season, the movie, whichever, and if you like that, you're getting more of that. There's nothing that's gonna change your mind, just like in the Euphonium. Either you like it and keep on watching it, or you don't like it, you don't need to watch the third season. Having said that, the studio changed since the season 2. It's gone from the Studio Dean to another studio, the one that escapes my mind right now. It's fairly new.
I'll pull it up real quick.
Drive is the name of the studio. I believe they worked on the Konosuba prequel, the one about the Megumin stays at the school. And their goofiness remains intact. The silliness is there, the comedic timing's there, the voice acting is top notch, and animation literally melts in a spot where it needs to be. I believe I quipped about it a while ago at the beginning of season 2 that somehow the animation looked worse than the season 1. Well, I kind of take it back. I think it just wasn't meant to be that way, and it's one of those series that if you ever feel down and just want something happy and funny to just distract yourself, just go and watch it. It just cure for a lot of things.
Yeah. I guess the only thing we can say about this show is that we're introduced to a few more characters. If you've ever played the game, you'll know who some of these characters are. So, you might get some spoilers from the game. But other than that, it's just Kazuma being Kazuma and Aqua being Aqua. So the only thing I think that doesn't tie into this so far is the spin-off with Megumin. So if you haven't seen that, it's not really needed for this, but definitely a movie. Other than that, I say enjoy, please. And we're going to go ahead and skip Black Butler and go to this other show here. Which I was actually surprised with how many people in our group wanted to watch it. I didn't think it was that great, but it's not bad. Chilling in another world with level 2 super G powers. So this is one of your trashy isekais that you can proudly say, this is my trash right now. Go ahead, start us off, Vinny. This is your trash.
Well, one's trash is another one's treasurable. It's no treasure, but yes, it's one of your typical trashy isekai harem series with a heavy dose of animal girls to boot. So it checks all the marks of a makings of a terrible series. Having said that, it's not bad animation-wise, but as Jess commented on the chat box, if you're allergic to these kind of a mindless series, then yeah, you're not gonna be able to put up with this one either. It's not one of those high quality series. It's as trash as it gets, but it's entertaining to boot. And for whatever reason, I thought animation is done much better than your typical isekai trash that you expect from it. And I did read the manga, and as far as the overpowering character goes in isekai, this is one of the better one, which doesn't mean a whole lot, but I'm enjoying it so far. It's not for everybody's cup of tea, and it doesn't have a really value to rewatch it ever again, but while it's running, I'll probably keep on watching and just enjoy that how silly it is. And that the girls are very cute. So there's that.
So, this show, I've also read the manga, and it's one of those surprisingly isekai harem shows that the character doesn't look like a Kirito knockoff. But it is still the OC, or overpowered character in your typical show, and it's got a lot of its tropes of like the trash hero and monsters and the defeat the demon lord and such. So not much else to say about it. I mean, I love the smartphone anime, so of course I'm going to love something like this. They're both not that great of a show, but for some reason they're still entertaining enough that you just kind of want to sit down and watch it. So it's not a show I don't think we can sell. So it's one of those that if you watch it, you're going to watch it. If not, then just it's all for me, I guess.
It's sold to us, so it's good enough.
Yeah. Next up, I think we can skip Mahoka season 3. It's just I may talk about it at the end of the season because it is a show I'm definitely going to watch. I'm a big fan of the Mahoka series, but it definitely continues just off of season 2, so not much else to say there. Let's go ahead and go to the next one. This one here. Let me see, how do I read this? Mao no ore ga dore elf wo yome ni shitan daga do mebaraba e? An archdemon's dilemma: how to love your elf bride. Now this was exactly what I expected it to be. I have read the light novel of this back in the day, so I kind of already knew everything that was going to happen, and it's being pretty faithful to the light novel. And what's her name? Nephilia is such a cute character in the show, and her demeanor in it is very well done, and you absolutely fall in love with her, as everyone else in the village in the anime does as well. So it's been very well animated so far, and to give you kind of a quick overview, in this world we have sorcerers, and sorcerers are seen as evil beings and such. So they actually have a holy order that goes around killing sorcerers because they're sought as these heretics that go around, bringing evil about. And our main character, Zagan, just so happened at a young age was kidnapped off the streets as an orphan by a sorcerer, and as he was about to be experimented on, he somehow was able to turn the tables on the sorcerer and kill him. And because of such, he then became a sorcerer himself. And now he's, years later, now he's a strong enough sorcerer that he's able to survive by himself. And he lives by himself in the middle of nowhere, just, protecting his domain from any evildoers. But he as himself is not evil. It's just the thoughts of how sorcerers are perceived is what kind of drags him down. But also because he also doesn't feel any interest in anything else. So he kind of seems kind of standoffish. But he just so happens to go to an auction and meets Nephilia and basically falls in love right away and buys her. So this loathsome sorcerer out there that's sought to be evil, and this innocent elf that was bought as a slave. With these two, it's a funny comedy of how they're trying to interact with each other, with him trying to be nice and trying to kind of come off as a sweet person, but doesn't know how to say things or can't say the words he wants, and then her misinterpreting all of his actions and such. So it's a fun little game of that so far, and it seems that the first 4 episodes are out, or maybe I think it's even 5. This kind of came out early, and it still hasn't even covered all of the first book. So I believe there's about 10 books out right now, and you can actually find this, I believe, on JNovel. But it's a fun little story, and I'm excited to see all the new characters that will be coming up in the future. But This is a show I would kind of recommend. It's a nice fantasy, not isekai. So, um, and it doesn't have the whole like stats leveling up that some other fantasy stories do. It's just um, kind of focuses on so far on Nephilia and Zagan and their story right now. But that'll soon change as the story goes. What about you, Albert?
Yeah, I did not read the light novels. I'm still continuing to read the manga adaptation of it, and I really like it. It is more rom-com than anything, but there is an overall story that starts to emerge with all these other characters coming in, and the once he gets promoted to Archdemon, which is how they're calling Maol, because there are 13 of, wait, is that right? Yeah, there are 13 of them, and so there's an open seat, and he becomes the 13th. And then the plot, there's an actual plot that happens involving the difference between sorcery and actual magic and all of that. So I like it. The only thing I would comment is I'm not sure I'm totally sold on Neffy's voice actress, who the name is it's Ichinose. What is the last name or the first name?
Kana?
So she voiced Soletta Mercury and Witch from Mercury, the Gundam show, and last couple of seasons she has been the voice of Fern and Free Run. So it's not the voice I would have picked for Neffy, but the show is the animation and the chibi gag forms and all that is funny. So I would recommend you check it out. But there are people who hate like everything that's based on a misunderstanding. They're misunderstanding each other and then there's strife. There's misunderstanding each other and there's comedy. So it's just a series of misunderstanding because Zagan has grew up very isolated, has a hard time communicating with people or expressing his feelings or any of that. So, if you don't like that, then you're not going to like this. But if you just want a fantasy, a Japanese fantasy-based sword and sorcery, cute elves, then yeah, check it out.
Piggybacking on what you said about the misunderstanding type trope, when it comes to this, though, I believe I enjoy this a lot more than the kind of typical misunderstandings back in the day, which were the dense protagonist misunderstanding. This protagonist isn't dense at all, so it's just communication errors that happen here. Because I do hate that dense protagonist that just can't get the clue that the person likes him or anything like that. But this does play it a little bit different.
Yes, agreed.
And I will say this, though. As I was watching it yesterday, I did look it up as well. And I was surprised to find out that Zagan is played by Subaru's voice actor. Which I did not pick up at all. Go to the next title, which is, I think this is a continuation of season 2, right? Of
Yes.
give me a second. Yeah.
Crunchyroll's listing it as episodes 13, 14, 16, etc. Of season 2.
Right?
Oh, for Mushoku
Yeah.
Tensei, yeah, it's the second core of season 2.
And I don't really have a whole lot to say because it's kind of like the other anime we discussed where if you're not on board at this point in the game, you're not gonna find
You're not gonna
anything here.
watch it.
Yeah, you're just not gonna watch it.
Yeah. So we can go through that one easy. I will say though, the music, I was surprised that I believe it's changed a little bit, and I really enjoyed it. But let's go to the next one then. Too bad for that show, but we must move on to, how do you say this? Oi, Tonbo. Also translated into Tonbo. And I haven't seen this anywhere, so it looks like it's on Amazon Prime. Is that where it's streaming?
Yep, it is. So I checked this out because it is about a girl, a middle school girl who appears to be a golf prodigy. So yes, this is a golfing anime, and you know, I wanted to check it out because maybe there's a golf anime renaissance going on after Birdie Wing. So anyway, I checked it out. It is based on the manga that is in a golf magazine that runs in a golf magazine, and so a former pro golfer, something we don't have the entire story, comes to a very, very small island of only like several, not sure if it's even 1,000 people that live on the island. He comes as like a development office manager, but he brings his golf clubs, and he meets this girl, Tombo, who is in 9th grade. So she's in the middle school, chungako in Japan, and will be graduating and going on to high school. So you think. And when he gets to the island, he discovers that he's staying at a technically not a hotel, but a ryokan. And she's there, and he notices a 3-iron, which is a type of club, and he observes it as he would a pro, and he notices all these marks on it, and he decides that it's been used and used a lot because it is in very poor condition. But it turns out Tombo, that's her club, and she only plays with a 3-iron for some reason, and she takes him to this 3-par, or not 3-par, wait, yeah, it is. So the people on the island made this fantastic golf course on the island's cliff edge. There's only 3 holes, but it's a fantastic course, and so she shows him this, and he becomes interested in her as a player because he sees something very different as she plays the long game, the short game, the putting, all with her 3 club. So that's how it starts. I've watched 2 episodes of it. I will continue to watch it. The golf scenes, the animation that they use for the actual golf swings is very important for anime like this. And it's actually pretty good, I've got to say. So, and of all the places you can go to Amazon Prime and watch it, it's being simul dubbed. So there's an English dub and the Japanese audio. There are 4 episodes out, I believe, now. So yeah, if you're interested in a golf anime, check it out. If you're interested in a coming to age of a girl that has a passion for something, but is from a small community and will eventually need to leave that community. Right? There's a lot of family drama there. It's actually pretty good. So I do recommend that you at least check out the first episode. That's it.
Excuse me. It also looks like it's on a YouTube channel called It's Anime.
Yes, but I did not check that out. So I did learn that's where it is. But I watched it on Prime.
Yeah, so. Alright. That's cool to know. We're getting some more golf anime out there. Next up is something about angels. Oh, is this one room? Oh, there it is. Oh man, that title's too big for the screen. One room, Hiatari Futsu Tenshi Ski? It's kind of weird. I can't say that right. Studio apartment, good lighting, and angel included. I don't know what to say about this because I've only seen 2 episodes. Has anyone watched all of it?
No, I'm behind as well.
I haven't watched all of it either. I've only watched maybe the same 2 episodes as you did, Tank.
Okay, so I can't remember everything. I believe an angel is tasked to go to Earth to learn about humans, and she just so happens to seek cover in the dead of night on the balcony of I believe a high schooler that's living alone, and he takes her in and decides to help her, and finds out that she's an angel rather quickly, and her, I think, objective is to learn about humans and happiness or something. I can't remember exactly, but her goal then becomes to make him happy, so she can learn about happiness and such. And it's causing problems for him because, you know, an adolescent with this beautiful angel in his house, in his room, which seems to be like a room apartment, and also trying to hide the fact that she's an angel, which I believe is totally rendered mute by episode 2, because I think she gets caught at the very end. So we'll see how that happens as the show goes on. But is this like my goddess? I can't say it is, because oh my goddess, she's there to help grant his wish, right, and to support him. While it seems that she is unable to support him because she doesn't really understand customs and also understand human nature. So it's a fun learning experience for her to kind of grow, and I think it's going to be also a good experience for the boy who's living alone to now have a companion. I'm not too sure on his circumstances and why he's alone. I kind of forgot, or I don't know if they mentioned it. But if anything, I was thought of a show called kind of like Pita 10, if you ever saw that, but instead of elementary schoolers, these are high schoolers, in a sense. But so far it's played as a rom-com, and right now I'm kind of on the fence if I should keep on watching or not, because there's not too much to kind of keep you interested in right now, especially with all the other shows that are out. So I'd like to hear what Dragon thinks.
I think it's definitely gonna be one of those, like, if I have time, I'll probably continue it. It's kind of just okay so far. I know Vinny also gave me the manga for it, so I might just read the manga as well if I have time in passing. I mean, it's been okay. It's not like something to be like, oh, I'm totally like gonna keep watching it. It's one of those like, yeah, if I have time and I don't have anything else planned to watch, maybe I'll watch.
What about you, Vinny?
It's a cute rom-com with, I guess, a very naive girl and as a center. So it really tilts towards more of a sweet, innocent type than anything else. There's really not much edginess, nothing intentional, anyways. But some might find it to be a little too sweet for their own taste. So it's not really recommendable for those who kind of likes more realistic take. I mean, that realism kind of went out the window when minute you realize that this is a little angel coming down from the heaven to earth. So there's that. I like it mostly because I read the manga and the animation itself is not half bad, but it's really not for everybody's cup of tea. And as a Dragon says, it's one of those secondary type of series to watch. It's not going to be the anime of the season by any means of stretch. So if you have a time and if you like those kind of sweet, tilting rom-com series, give it a try. But if that's not your thing, then you can, safely steer away. That's pretty much all I can say.
All right, let's go to the next show. There's no reason to stay on this one all day, right? So we got the long-awaited there it is.
Woohoo!
Okami to Kyoshinryo, Merchant Meets the Wise Wolf. Oops.
Spice and Wolf.
I hit the wrong button. Yes, Bison Wolf. Ah! Everyone's been waiting for the next installment, but we got a reboot.
Only Neo was here to talk about it.
Well, I'll let Jessica start off. She went right away. Woo!
Yeah, this series has a special place in my heart. It was one of the very first light novels that Yen Press ever published in English. And kind of the rest is history. Now there's light novels everywhere, all over the place. It's really cool. But the basic premise is that this is set in a medieval type world. There's some conflict between the church, which is coded as the Christian church, versus the pagans. And the church is kind of pushing out a lot of the pagan traditions. But there are still some places out in the country that they might not necessarily worship the old gods, but they at least have the festivals and stuff, and their festivals look more fun anyway. So the main character is Lawrence, and he is a traveling merchant who just goes from town to town selling stuff, making deals and things, and he stops off in a small out-of-the-way village. And a lot of things happen, but basically the gist of it is that he meets an 800-year-old wolf goddess called Holo, who has been living in that village for a long, long time, many centuries, but unfortunately, because of the influx of the new religion, the residents have slowly forgotten about her and aren't really in tune with her as much. So she decides to travel with him to meet, or to find her old village of Yoitsu. And that's pretty much the story. It's basically Holo and Lawrence traveling from one place to another, doing economic merchanty stuff, and trying to gather clues as to where exactly Yoitsu is so that Holo can return.
Did you ever read the light novel?
Yes.
So,
Yes, I read all of them.
is this one closer to it, or is the other one?
It's difficult to say because I read the light novels when they were first published in the United States. So it's been a minute for me. I don't remember the finer details. But what I did think was kind of odd about this one is they set up the story with a framing narrative of Holo telling the story to a young girl, which I don't want to spoil anything, but if you've read the novels, you know who that is. And I thought that was kind of odd for them to do because the novels don't have that as an element. But I guess in broad strokes, it seems to be going about the same story beats as the first anime and the novels. It's just the first anime had a lot of additions that they made to the story. So there was an anime-only character, Chloe, who was in the first anime, and she is not here in the reboot because she's not in the books. So has anybody else read the novels?
No.
No? They're pretty good.
But
I read up halfway.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that, Vinny. I will say this, though. I did notice, I mean, it's been years since I watched the old anime, and I immediately noticed some differences, such as the first character he runs into the village. I was like, wasn't that a girl? I swore it was a girl.
Mm-hmm. It
Yeah.
was. Yeah, and that was Chloe.
And they definitely changed that. And
Mm-hmm.
they also toned down, I would say, the fan service in this case. In this new rendition of it, so that's why I was kind of curious. Like, is this one following it better because they changed the sex of that person in the village, or
Well, so Chloe had this whole kind of hook into the plot where she wanted Lawrence, and so she was doing some sabotagey kind of stuff to get him. And so they had her in the first 3 or 4 episodes, I think, being the architect of the entire plot with Trenny silver coins. And it just didn't really make a whole lot of sense. So personally, I'm glad that they excised that out of the story. But that's really all I remember because I think the original anime came out in 2008, right?
oh, really that
So
old?
yeah, I could be wrong.
Yeah, it looks like you're right.
The only thing that I think that I really miss from the first anime, I should say, is the opening song of the first season, Tabi no something. That song is incredible, and I don't know that anyone could really compete with it. Because not only is it a beautiful song, but the lyrics harken back to the whole point of the series, is that these are two incredibly lonely people who have been isolated for a long time, and they're coming together and forming a relationship and a really close, tight-knit bond. And that song captures that so perfectly. But the instrumental music in this anime is pretty good. It feels like period music almost.
Mm-hmm. So, I guess the only other thing I would say is that I think this show is really nice to probably start off here and not worry about the older one. If you're wondering which one to get into, you might as well just start with this. Because,
Yeah.
I mean, the pacing and everything isn't too different, I would say. And a lot of the key things that I do remember from the old one are kind of being sought here, so you're not going to be miss much or have a big of a difference if you don't go watch that first season. If anything, you might be a little bit better so that you're not having something to compare with. But I will recommend watch at least listening to that opening song.
definitely check that out. It's certainly one of my top 10 opening anime themes of all time. It's that good.
So I don't know who's been there when we're on anime night, but I do almost want to start singing that old song as it starts the opening. I'm like, oh nope, it's not happening.
No, it's not that one.
But yes, a great show. Anyone else have anything to add? I mean, it's pretty much how it is, right? Let's go ahead and go to the next title, which I was surprised. I have a coworker that just won't stop talking about this show and how good it is, and I was like, it's not that good to me. Monster.
Oh, I remember the first episode for this.
It's not good.
Yeah.
Your coworker has poor taste. I'm sorry.
It's bad.
Yeah. I mean, then again, I think they also like Mashal, so I'm not going to trust their opinion too much anymore. But yeah, Monster. I mean, I've read the manga back in the day, so I kind of picked this up because I'm like, I've read the manga. I might as well watch this a little bit. But it follows the life of a goblin, and lo and behold, it's one of those isekai rebirths, right? But slightly different is that he's not isekai from our world. He's isekai from another somewhat fantasy world, where they have, I don't know if it would be right to maybe consider them closer to espers rather than magic.
Yeah, it's like superpowers.
Yeah. So, and one of his unique abilities was that whatever he ate, he was able to gain their ability or such. And that follows him in this life. And with his previous knowledge, he's able to grow far stronger and faster than the other goblins. And that's this story in a nutshell. Anything else to add, Albert?
No, so okay, this was also one of the Crunchyroll premiere that they showed at SakuraCon. I also have read the manga, and the manga, it just ends up being pretty boring because it's just, oh, this happened and this happened and this happened. It's just a series of events. And as for the anime, the animation is actually pretty good as of the first episode I watched, but also quite gory because he gains his powers by eating other things. So he ends up in this fantasy world and gaining even not just the abilities but skills of monsters that he eats, right? So they show him eating like whatever the hell the poison snake was called, and then the horned rabbit, and he gets like dexterity from that, and the venom from the poison snake. He gets poison resistance, which is not true because if a snake bites itself, it's still going to get poisoned. So, shows you how much the author really knows. And then he, eventually eats an orc. And from the orc, he gets like the orc language and all these other things. And for some abilities, he needs to eat multiple units of the creature to gain the full ability. And one of the things that he got was a sex drive. Gee, I wonder where that's going. Harem. So just everything about it was giving me a headache as of the first episode. And it goes by pretty fast because he hits his level whatever and evolves into a higher class of monster. So instead of a goblin, he becomes a hobgoblin. And that will continue on. And everything that he does, there's hardly any challenge. Yeah, he's a little smarter than everyone else. He has this cheat ability, but it's just not very good. It's just, plain old power fantasy, better than everyone else. So, yeah. I picked it up originally because it kind of had an interesting premise that he was isekai from a different world, right? A world with superpowers. I'm like, oh, I wonder how that works. Well, it ends up being boring because it's a cheat. And he also died in the other world because a stalker, killed him. A yandere killed him. I'm like, I wonder if that's gonna come into play. 8 volumes into the manga, no thanks. So I'm done. That's it.
Yeah, not much to say about this show. Other than Jessica, watch it. You're gonna love it.
That's pretty sus. You can't fool me. Nice try.
Oh, we needed a sacrifice.
No, I trust Albert's taste. If he says something's not good, I believe him.
Okay, next up is this show? Wow, okay. It's Yuri time. Sasayaku yo ni koi wo utao. Right? Alright, thank you, Albert. We'll see you.
Whisper me.
Bye now.
Have a
Bye.
have a safe trip. So this is every so often you'll get a Yuri anime out there, and which makes everyone super excited, and then eventually leads to disappointment. There's only been like a handful of Yuri titles that actually were good, and I don't know what to say about this one. It's still too early to say if it's going to be good or bad, but right now I will say that it's kind of losing my interest really quickly. We got high school students, Himari, which is a freshman, and during their, I think it's like an opening ceremony, or some kind of like festival to welcome the new students. There's a performance that's put on by a band, and Iori, which is the lead singer and guitarist, is up there singing, and instantly Himari falls in love. She falls in love so hard, and she so happens to meet Yori and confesses her love to her, and how at their first sight that she was just glamored by her, and she dumps all of this on her, and now Yori, with all this information, decides, this doesn't feel bad. I'm actually surprised with how I'm feeling about this, and this starts our little love story. But so far, like I said, it's not doing too much with it, and I don't know what I'm expecting or what I want from the show, but it's just not giving me what I want, I guess. But and I would say the quality of the show also isn't high. It's kind of mediocre, but it's I think it's at a quality where I would ignore it if the story was captivating enough, but so far it isn't to me. But I'd like to hear what you all have to say about this.
Well, for me, I've only seen the first episode. I'm a little behind, but I kind of had a similar reaction where the first episode wasn't too enthralling. It was just okay. There wasn't anything immediately horrible about it. But it also didn't really compel me to really super want to watch more right away, which is typically what happens of a good first episode, for me anyhow. I'm gonna keep watching it, but my expectations have been tempered a bit.
The only thing I have to say about this Yuri is I do not have the feeling of darkness or doom that typical Yuris that have been coming out have.
Mm-hmm.
Like what was it, Citrus, that was really dark and such. But other than that, what about you, Vinny?
Um, I have a little bit more positive outcome with this series so far. Tank, if you guys don't know anything about Tank, is that he is great at picking up minute details in animation. I mean, he almost make a sports out of it sometimes. And that 24-minute episode turns into the whole 1-hour sessions of let's find all the problems with this animation. And he just completely tears it apart. That's him. Having said that, it's not that bad. Quality-wise, I've seen a far worse series Yo-Yo otherwise. I'll say it's a little above passable in terms of animation quality, and the story is kind of slow burning at first. And yes, I could see some people getting kind of annoyed by sort of seemingly indecisive nature of the main character but then again, she kind of explains that she's one of those adults that who never fell in love with anything or anybody, so she doesn't know how to feel about it. So if you kind of buy into that strange argument, then it's passable. It's not one of those attention getting from the get-go, but then again, a lot of series has a great first 3 episodes and completely fell apart later on. So I'm willing to give it a try and try to at least see through episode 6 and how it goes. Hope for the best. Manga is pretty decent, so I have a better expectation that I will be able to at least watch through 6 episode. That's how I think.
Dragon?
I feel like I don't know. I forgot if it was in the 3rd or 2nd episode, but I don't know. I feel like I expected a certain pacing of how it would go, and then kind of like throwing me off a little bit, and so I'm kind of like there are moments where I'm like, oh, it's so cute, and it's like, I don't know, the pacing for me kind of seemed a little weird. I had something, I had it already kind of like planned out how it would be in like most like romance anime, and it just didn't really follow that. So I'm kind of just like waiting. Like I'll probably still give it a couple more episodes to see. I mean, I agree with Vinny that like it's not like the worst animation quality, but it would have been nicer to see this a little bit with more like higher quality of animation style, but it's been kind of okay. Like there are moments where I'm just like, that's very cute. It's very sweet, but then I don't know. The pacing for me is kind of the thing that's like, do I really want to stick with it or not?
Yeah. I mean, I'll admit it has some cute scenes and cute moments with the girls, but so far it hasn't given me that super strong Yuri vibe that I get from shows like Sound of Phonium or even Akebi. Like, there's moments in Akebi where I'm like, oh my goodness, look how close they are. They're going to kiss, aren't they? Again, those kind of feelings. But this one, I don't get that at all, or get a vibe of. Like, I'll admit, I think this one's more targeted towards building maybe a proper romance, rather than this lustful feeling. I don't know if that's the way to say it, but we'll see. Let's go to the next title. I'm going to kind of try to move us along a little faster, since I just now noticed the time. I don't think everyone has that much time to be watching or hanging out. So I'd like to thank you guys for staying here so far. The other title is Shinigami, right?
Oh, yes.
How come there's no
Shinigami
title card
Chan.
here?
season 3.
Okay, so there's no title card here,
Excuse
which is surprisingly, so we'll just leave it blank for now. But oh, Jessica's leaving, but I just wanted to mention
Oh.
about Shinigami Bochan, or the Death of Duke and the Maid. One thing I mentioned when this starts, as long as they tone down the musicals, I'll be happy. And lo and behold, the first episode, 2 musical numbers right away. Kind of drove me crazy, but as it continues on, the musical numbers have gone down. And we're still continuing the story, but I wouldn't say there's much else to talk about this, because you definitely need season 1, season 2 to continue this, and if you're watching that, you're watching it. It is a CG-driven show. It's not really hand-drawn. So if you don't like the CG style animes, this isn't for you. But the playful nature of the maid with Duke of Death is what's fun about this show. But other than that, I hope that they can keep the musicals down and not bring it back. But other than that, not much else to say. Next up is Shumatsu Train Doko e Iku. I've only seen episode 1, so Jessica, what's going on? I don't know. I just saw them get on a train. What happens?
Oh my gosh. Okay, I kind of wish Albert were here for this one, because this is best summed up as a surrealist anime. Where do I begin? So it all starts when Japan decides to unleash their 7G technology. And much like 5G technology here in the United States, I'm being sarcastic, by the way, there are a lot of problems with it. And when they unleash the 7G, it tears apart reality, and the laws of physics cease to function. And we have places in Japan where the villagers turn into animals when they hit 18. There are some villages where they're all goats just running around. There are some villages where the people have turned into Jizo statues. It's just really bizarre. Space has also warped itself, because the distances between the towns are not the same as they were prior to 7G. So it's weird. And as the girls are journeying across Japan, they'll see things like, different planets just hovering in the air and things. So you have to expect the unexpected. And basically, the girls on the train... I'm sorry, I'm doing a terrible job, but it's just such a weird anime, it's very difficult to describe. There are 4 girls in a particular village who, when the 7G issue started, had been separated from one of their friends who was in Tokyo somewhere, I think. And so they set out on a quest to find her and reunite with her. And they do so by riding a train. And that's it. It's kind of like a quest narrative where each episode takes place in a weird part of this new Japan, and the girls have to navigate some really surrealist bullshit in order to get to the next train stop. And I really like it. It's kind of an adventure, and it's humorous, not to be taken seriously at all. That's the best I can do. What do y'all think?
I only watched 1 episode, and maybe it just didn't click with, because I was just like, I don't know what's going on.
That is fair.
Cause like I remember seeing the cover image of like I just saw like train going somewhere, and I just see like girls like standing on a train, and I guess I'm trying to think of what anime that I was thinking would be similar to. Um, I think I don't know. I guess I was expecting like I guess it kind of falls into that ballpark, but then like all the whole like animal stuff was kind of like what? I was thinking it might have been like uh what is it? There isn't there like an anime where like the girls go on like ride like a tank and they're just kind of like going around in a tank.
Oh yeah, Girls Last Tour.
Girls last year. So I was expecting like, oh, it's just like, like some girls find like on a train just going somewhere. I didn't know like where, just seeing like the environment I would have thought like, some type of rundown thing. And like they're just like kind of like, we're seeing them just take this like journey somewhere. But then like I see all the animal stuff and then like them talking about how they're gonna be turning into animals. So I'm like, but that's what I was expecting. So my expectation was just like, okay, so kind of off, but like everything was just like, I don't know how to go about this.
Mm-hmm.
I will say this: when I first saw that first episode and all that craziness that was happening, the first thing that popped in my mind was Pure Illusion from Flip Flappers. I don't know if anyone's
Oh
seen that,
yeah, I forgot about Flip Flappers.
where all that craziness and zaniness happens. And after that, I was actually kind of expecting something more along the lines of kind of like Kyosogiga to be the new world, but it wasn't. So it was very strange. So I am a little curious as to how the rest of the world's going to be since they left, but I just haven't had time to go and watch it. So
I've seen 4 episodes so far, and we don't know what has happened outside of Japan, because technology doesn't really work great, but there's an ambient electricity in the air which allows a little bit of electricity to work. It's really strange, and it feels almost like Alice in Wonderland a bit, just in how absurd the whole situation is. And so I would find this one difficult to recommend, because even though I'm enjoying it, you really just gotta go with the flow. And okay, yeah, we're in a village where everybody has mushrooms on their head. Okay, that's the new normal, I guess. And just run with it. Because the girls don't really take it. They kind of take everything in stride too, and you'll notice as you're watching different episodes that this bitter melon that they brought on board from, I think, a single pot is slowly taking over the train.
Oh.
And none of them really make any mention of, hey, should we be worried about the fact that this bitter melon is engulfing an entire train car right now? They're just, we got lots of bitter melon. It's good food to eat.
Sure, if you know how to cook with it.
Yeah.
It feels like either creator went to postmodern art exhibition and then promptly got drunk and had the inspiration of turning into an anime, while simultaneously mumbling how to make the most bizarre looking thing in last dozen years. That's the impression I got after watching the first episode.
And I was kind of right there with you, is that I went in watching this episode thinking, oh, there's some post-apocalyptic event that happens and the girls are going to be on a train. And then the first episode happens and we're suddenly in a village with animals all over the place that are talking, and I think at that point I said out loud, what the fuck? 'Cause it was just so weird, and I was not expecting it. And yeah, it's a hard sell. It's a hard sell.
You know, I'm going to be honest with y'all. When I saw the title, I did not think of train as in the vehicle. I thought they were training for the end of the world.
Oh,
So imagine my confusion.
Jeez.
So you had that on top of the normal confusion of people that knew that there were going to be trains.
Yeah, like, because I don't research much into the new shows. I like to go into them blind, and all I saw
Me
was train
too,
to the end
yeah.
of the world. I'm like, oh, are they gonna? Is this gonna be some kind of battle thing? You know, with these girls, and I didn't even know they were on a train because of how small the thumbnail was. So, I was totally blindsided by what actually did happen, and even I think I even mentioned at the end of the episode, I was like, oh, a train. But yeah. Let's continue on. Wait, first, are you guys recommending this, or how do you feel on this one?
Ooh, I don't actually know. If
I would say it's definitely for a niche audience. If you like very, I guess, what is it like? What would you?
avant-garde, maybe?
Mm. Also, just spend 24 minutes and watch it. Watch the first episode. They'll tell you a whole lot about whether you want to keep going or not.
Yeah, that is true. It's only going to take 20 minutes of your time to find out if this is a yes for you.
It's definitely for a niche audience. For sure.
All right. So let's go ahead and move on. Let's go ahead and skip the isekai title, since it doesn't seem many people are watching it, and it's really not high marks on there. And we'll go to the reincarnation one, though, which has all the vibes of an isekai, but it's actually a reincarnation. I was reincarnated as the seventh prince, so I could take my time perfecting my magical abilities. With that title, you could tell it's a light novel.
Yeah.
But I've been reading the manga. The manga has over 100 chapters, and the manga is high quality. I mean, some of the scenes in it are beautiful. They have a lot of colored images inside of it that just make certain moments pop out, especially with how the prince uses the magic. And within those color pages, it just stands out even more so. And the anime is doing a really good job of kind of blending that into its animation as well, into the story. But I'm all in it for that one maid. So Sylph is
Silpha.
Silpha is
Right.
just amazing. I even did paper cutouts from the manga that I loved her so much. And now seeing her animate is so much fun. It does have a lot of how do you say, fan service in it. So so you do have that to contest with, and I swear they do a lot of these scenes and moments where I swear it focuses on the butt a lot. So you get a lot of these
Yes.
really tight butt shots, and everything also always seems to be super dug into the crotch area for a lot of these characters, which is another really weird things. Other than that, like I said, it's been really fun. It's been really high quality, and I highly recommend it. I don't know what else to say. What about you, Vinny?
Yeah, so character design mimics very closely to the manga of the series. And yes, it's really typical of the light novel based series, and So the main character who yearned to study all there is to know about magic was not blessed with the pedigree that's needed to progress further and met untimely demise. And then he was reincarnated into new life as a seventh prince of the kingdom. I don't believe it really named much, not that it really matters. And now he is blessed with the pedigree and the power of the magic that he's ever so desired from his previous life. So he decided to devote himself studying the magic. He didn't care for the title, he didn't care for the thrones, he's not in the running, given that he's a seventh prince. And he's completely content with it. And then along the way, he starts all those mischiefs and then find this demon that was trapped within the dungeon of the castle, and he accidentally unshackle him, but then the demon was quickly overwhelmed by the prince and became a servant who serves under him. Lloyd is the main character, and the Grim is the demon who decides to stick around. And I find those interaction between Lloyd and Grim to be very funny, very well timed, the slapstick, and Lloyd always goes. His antic always goes to 11, and Grim is the one who actually became the voice of reason, tried to tone him down from going up onto his misadventure, which is kind of funny given that the demon is usually the one who wreaks havoc on everything, but in here, demon is the one who tried to rail him in instead of letting him do whatever he pleases. It is very strong on the Shota vibe, given that he's the only young child, and there's a troop of maids who's well endowed and who's kind of head over heels over. Especially the head maid Zilpha has an unhealthy obsession over him. But it managed to never cross that icky line, so its suggestion is there all the time, but it managed to just go under to the point where it becomes off-putting. And Lloyd himself does not desire that kind of relationship at all. I mean, he is truly devoted into the craft of magic and nothing else. So, and there's a little mini skit in the halfway through, which kind of is kind of funny in itself. But if you're not averse to the light novel titles and likes all those action, adventure, comedy combination type, yeah, I think you should definitely at least give it a try. And it is fairly well animated, so there's always that too.
Yes. I think they're just about to finish somewhat the first arc with the episode 5 coming up soon. So we got that. Next up is the slime, which I think we could skip. It's season
if
3.
you're already watching, if you enjoyed up to like season 2 and already watched the movie as well, then it's like you're most likely just gonna continue watching the 3rd season.
Okay, and then the next one. So, you know how I was complaining about that Yuri anime? Well, it seems that the same people are making this, which is called The New Gate. And I swear, they're like, well, we don't have enough time to do both shows. Let's give up on The New Gate and put everything into that Yuri. Because this show looks bad. I am so saddened because this is a light novel that I've been reading for a long time. And I love it. And even the manga, which comes out I think every 3 months, is really well done. And the anime, though, it isn't helping it at all. And they're skipping so many, I think, little bits of information and scenes that I'm wondering why. Because they kind of insinuate certain things, but then you're like, wait, we're now done with that? How wasn't something supposed to happen here? And I know something happens there because I've read the books, and it's thrown me off big time. Like I think they even mentioned that the first episode that the guild leader wanted to talk to him and everything. He's even like, "Let me put you through a test." Ha ha ha. And then next thing you know, he's in his room and he's like, "Well, that was tough." And you're like, "Wait, there was this whole fight scene that happened between him. But what happened? How come we didn't see this? What?" So it's very upsetting that this show didn't get more love, because it's really, really great story. It is an isekai in a sense that it's trapped in a game world, kind of like Sword Art Online, where they're stuck in a game, and but unlike, I think, Sword Art Online, there's magical abilities and such from the start, but you can pick different races and different classes than just being, the adventurer. So, and one of the weakest races were, of course, humans. And Shin, which is the main character, is known for being in a group of what they call the high humans, because for some reason anyone that was a game player was considered a high race, whatever that race was. So since he was a human, he was considered a high human. And they all were considered these crazy gamers that excelled in certain aspects that brought them to be greater heights. And Shin just so happened to be a blacksmith that was able to create some of the strongest weapons within the game. And his other clan groups members, could do castles, or could do cooking, or could do, there's all sorts of different categories that were in this. But we start off with Shin beating the game and everyone going home. Yay! Everyone's logging out, he's watching it. But before he's able to log out, a door opens behind him and he finds himself in a field, and lo and behold, he's still in the game, but he finds out soon that he's 400, I believe, or years in the future. And the game world is no longer as gamey as it was, because now, like, the NPCs are sentient. Everyone has these roles and lives their lives, and they no longer act as NPCs. So it's now him trying to learn what's going on, what's happened, and get answers so he can go home. That's the show in a nutshell. But like I said, it's done really poorly, and it makes me really sad. Anything to add, Vinny?
Well, you covered pretty much everything. I was looking forward to this series. I read the manga of it, and I found it to be interesting enough. And unfortunately, the studio just simply is not equipped to handle this series. So far is pretty dismal, as you mentioned. Story kind of follows a hybrid between Sword Art Online and Leadale. Leadale kind of comes into place since the main character, instead of returning to the real world, kind of gets sucked back into the gaming world, but the gaming world progresses into the future. And that's why he ends up being that he's in a game world, but not the timeline that he's familiar with, and a lot of things has changed since then. So he tried to kind of get the bearings of what's going on and figure out what's the mystery behind him not being able to return back to the real world. So that part is reminiscent of Real, which is another unfortunate series that was blessed with the suck when it comes to animation. So for the fan of the series, will be very disappointed by that, and for those who's not fan of it or haven't heard of it, and mind you, I accidentally read this series thinking that this was a sequel to The Gate, one about the self-defense force venturing into the fantasy world series from years ago. and only to realize, oh, this is different series altogether from the same publisher, and I end up reading it and liked it. And there's really no winning hands with this one at this point. Better off sticking with the manga or light novel of your choice at this point. There's really no sense of watching it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably going to keep on watching it because I like this. I want to see how far they butcher it, in a sense, but I don't have high hopes for it. Did you have anything to add, or?
Nope.
Okay, let's go to the next title, which I don't know what this is, but Jessica's watching it. Tonari no Yokai-san.
Oh, yeah, this is a cute one. It initially wasn't on my radar, but I think one of the reviewers on ANN said that it was really cute, kind of a wholesome type of show, and so I checked it out, and I've seen the first 2 episodes only, but basically it takes place in a world where yokai live among the human beings, just everyday, average Japan. It's taken as completely normal, and it's centered in a country town where there are a lot more yokai around, and just their interactions with the day-to-day human beings and stuff. So there's a little kappa girl in an elementary school, and there's a Yatagarasu who's hanging out with a Tengu, who's kind of the guardian of the village. And it all starts when a very old cat, a 20-year-old cat, instead of passing away from old age, grows a second tail and becomes a nekomata. And so he's learning how to use his transformation powers from a kitsune. There's also a young human girl whose father was spirited away several years before the start of the first episode, and she's dealing with that. It looks to be very sweet with a little bit of darkness kind of percolating underneath, as there are yokai who are more traditionally malevolent that are on the periphery of this nice, quaint little village life. I like it so far, and I would recommend checking it out if what I've described sounds like your kind of vibe for what you want to get.
I would definitely say I didn't know about it, so it's good to check it out, maybe.
Yeah.
We can skip the next one because that's just a continuation from last season. Another one you're watching that I have no idea about.
This one is so dumb. Oh my gosh. It's a bit of a guilty pleasure. And I was hoping that one of you guys was also watching it, because I feel like I'm suffering from post-traumatic brain syndrome or something. That someone hit me over the head, because this is just such a dumb series. Okay, let's see. Premise is young kid with 2 different colors of hair on his head and heterochromia rolls into a new town. He's a delinquent, and he's here to enroll in this academy called Bofurin, which I'm not really sure if it's a real school or not. I have so many questions about the world building of this series. So anyway, he wants to be the toughest guy around and beat up the toughest guy in this school of tough guys. And so he gets in a street brawl defending a young woman from, other tough delinquent guys. And she runs a cafe. And he tells her, oh, I've been picked on mercilessly for the color of my hair and my weird eyes and stuff ever since I was a kid. I was treated like a monster, and I don't trust anybody. And of course, everyone in the town immediately trusts him and likes him. So there's that going on. It's really well animated, though, which is kind of why I'm here, is that it's all fighting. It's a fighting anime, and the fight scenes are pretty well choreographed, and they're interesting and fun to watch. But the world makes no sense. There are no teachers in this school. but the boys somehow have uniforms. The school is overgrown with vines and vegetation, and there's graffiti everywhere. But they all show up to class, except to immediately leave class to go, quote unquote, patrol the city. And they're fighting against other gangs of kids who have different parts of control of the city. Also, there are no girls. Girls just don't exist except for the lady that owns the cafe and a bunch of old women that own shops and stuff. So I don't know. It's dumb, guys. It's real dumb. But it looks pretty. It's basically the himbo of anime this season.
Himbo
So-
anime.
So I will probably keep watching it until I come to my senses and just can't handle it anymore.
Interesting. I can't remember what I thought it was going to be. I remember reading a manga that was a fighting anime, or manga, I should say. That I thought it was called Wind Takers or Windbreaker, but this is definitely not that.
Oh.
So this is totally different, because the one I read was more like crazier, I would say, than what you just explained. But I'm not 100% sure on the name, because I was trying to search it up again and I can't find it, so I'm like, I definitely got the name wrong. But I may have to check out at least episode 1. Here's another. This is actually highly ranked in our group, right? Everyone's watching it, which is something about a jellyfish.
Jellyfish can't swim.
They can too, Dragon. They can't. Yoru no karage wo what is it? Oyogenai?
Oyoganai.
Oyogenai.
Jellyfish can't swim at night.
Yay!
Or can't swim in the night, perhaps.
This is on High Dive, and I can't say that. I don't know. I don't know what to expect of this show. Who wants to take this first? Because I don't know how to talk about the show.
I would say it's so this was the show that I was referring to. That would be, I guess, like in the whole sense of like music wise was similar to Girls Band Don't Cry. Two people who like one is like losing, has kind of like lost like the feeling of trying to go for their dream, right? Because when main girl was like doing art and she liked jellyfish and she drew this whole like jellyfish mural and she tried to show it off, like she got embarrassed because her friends when she was younger would be like, oh, like what's with this like silly like jellyfish, like who would draw something like this? And it's like deterred her from like trying to continue like drawing and like her dream of being, I guess, the artist. And until she happens upon like one night where she sees one of like those like kind of like idols, or like want to be like someone who wants to be an idol. She's streaming herself like singing and dancing out in the street, and she's in front of the main girl's mural, but she's plastered like her ad poster on it, and like just like covering up her jellyfish, and she's still kind of like like it's still like I would say like as like an artist, like that's her child, it's like her work, and she still cares about it, and she's trying, like she's like Jedi, and like so she's like shyly like saying like stop, like don't like deface my artwork, but she's too shy about it. And then someone off to the side comes and just full on goes, "Stop! Like you're ruining like the art that I love." And it's the other main protagonist that we'll uh, come to find out, and she's an ex-idol but is trying to continue doing music on her own, and she's still going, like she has that spirit to like still go for her dream. And that's why I was saying it's similar to Girls Band Don't Cry, because it's like finally someone who feels so down on their luck on their dream is being inspired to chase after their dream again after seeing someone else go for their dream. And yeah, and so then it's kind of their like journey, them being a duo of the main artist girl like gonna make art to help promote for the ex-idol girl that wants to do her solo career as a musician.
Okay. All I know is we have a friend named Onzy who watches this religiously over and over and over again to like memorize everything about it. And it just so happens the character designs were done by a artist that we love and follow. His name is Popman, and then some numbers I can't remember honestly. It's like 3-8 something. I feel bad not knowing it. And he's released some really good books. One of his books was called Citrus out there that you can buy. And he also released a sketchbook, which is like really hard to find. And that's what caught my interest in this right away. But other than that, I don't know about the whole singing and this kind of like thing they're going with, but I do love the characters and the girls so far, and just watching them and how they interact with each other, especially the black-haired girl and how she's so infatuated with Kano. So it at least has something to keep me interested and keep on watching it. But I don't know, maybe my interest will change, and we're starting to get into a deeper story now.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully it becomes a little more fun.
I really like how well fleshed out the characters are, even though they've really only had about 20 minutes, each of them going over their backstory and whatnot. It's doing a really good job of making them feel like well-rounded people, like real people, realistic people that have gone through a lot of things. And it's really great, and it's gorgeous to look at too. Beautifully animated, lots of lush backgrounds, the city feels alive. I really like this one a lot, and I look forward to it very much every week. Also, I don't think we've mentioned that this is an original. It's not based on any pre-existing property. So that's always fun to see.
It is a manga. It's an adaptation from a manga.
No, it's not.
It's a multimedia project.
Yeah.
Oh. Because for some reason...
Manga is a...
on this website I'm on, it says adaptation manga Yoru no Karage, and it has the whole thing there, so that's why I was saying manga.
Manga started the same day as the episode 1, and the light novel adaptation is starting next month.
Oh, I
So
did
it's-
see that. They both started on April 7th. Interesting.
Yeah, so it's an anime original venturing into multimedia adaptation. I believe Onzy posted the official Twitter of the series, which actually released the music video that you see on the episode 4.
Oh, I see. Never mind. I read this wrong. It's saying the manga is an adaptation, not the other way around. Okay.
Sorry, my cat is stepping on my headphone cord and is pulling my head to the side. Thank you.
One interesting thing that was brought to us was that if you go to I think it's Julie's. They have a Twitter for it, and they are releasing like those music videos that they do have in the show as well. So if you like the music, you can check out their Twitter and see the music videos that they made. And then last but not least, Yodu Camp.
Oh, you're the camp.
I don't know why I keep on doing that. I'm sorry. I keep on saying Yodu when it's Yudu.
Maybe you like to have a camping at nighttime?
I don't know. But Yudu Camp, yeah, season 3. I realized watching this that I don't think I ever saw season 2, so
Oh,
let's see what you have to say about it.
right. Season 3. So there has been some sizable changes since the season 2 and the movie. You don't need to watch the movie to watch season 3, but you should watch season 1 and 2, since this is a direct continuation from the season 2. So if you don't understand the character, then you would not understand this part much, although it's not hugely complicated. It's about cute girls doing the camping during the off season, mainly during the winter time, fall time, when there's not too many crowds around. They get to camp around the areas surrounding the Mount Fuji and get to enjoy the view of the wonderful Mount Fuji and the lakes around it. And this is more of it. The changes are that studio has changed since the season 2. First 2 seasons was done by C Station, but season 3 is now being by 8-bit, which is known for their the famous Isekai series, Slime series. So there's a fair bit of concern over, and then when they release a teaser, that concerns somewhat amplified, given that the character design has changed considerably. Although they kind of make a sport out of addressing that on the episode 1. But once you get over the change in their style a little bit, otherwise it's fine. The background looks fantastic, the scenery looks wonderful, whatever food they decide to have during the break, they all look tasty. Was it Dragon? Was it somebody else asked you about that? Don't you want to go camping like these guys? I said, I don't want to camp in the winter time because I did not enjoy camping in summertime when I was little. So wintertime camping, no. Plus, I do recall it's mentioning that it will require a fair bit of understanding and preferably having locals assistance to be able to navigate through, since there's a fair bit of equipment involved, along with the reservations and transportation. Some of these places not really easily accessible by trains and buses. So, anyways, it's a more of the same. Cute girls doing the fun camping, get to explore the nature and having grand old time. Season 3's pacing is a lot slower than Season 1 and 2, where the Season 1 and 2 was mostly self-contained, that each destination take no more than 2 episodes at a time, usually 1. But this is proven to be the multi-episodes so far, where when they decide to go to certain destination, I believe in the latest episode, we're kind of going to the 3rd episode into 4, try to get there. We haven't even really gotten to the actual first camping spot. So at this pace, we might end up seeing just like 2 different locations versus like 8 or 9 places that we kind of used to seeing it. And I believe they are working on figurines based on the Season 3 character design, which is, well, if you're a fan, get ready to open up your wallet because it's gonna hurt.
I'm actually.
Mhm.
I was going to say I'm kind of saddened that Albert isn't here because Albert is our local outdoorsman. I'm not 100% sure on camping, but I do know he goes hiking quite a bit.
If there's anybody who could actually try to mimic going into the location in Japan and do the camping, yeah, that will be Albert. He's the man who can do it for many reasons. I did pick up quite a bit of souvenirs at the pop-up store when I was in Japan a few months ago, and a lot of the ones the Eurocamp series is. But I'm thinking, man, the season 3 happened with all the changes. Does that mean I'm gonna have to buy, new stuffs again? I don't know. To be decided. But otherwise, don't worry too much about all the changes that was made in season 1 and 2. It still is quite interesting and entertaining and very much the relaxing type of series. So go enjoy it.
Yes. So, from our count, at least for television shows, there's like around 87, close to. I believe there's an OVA that was also released that Jessica just mentioned earlier before this meetup on Netflix. What was that show called again, Jessica?
The Grim Variations.
So that will be on Netflix. So we'll talk about that at the end of the season. Maybe they'll drop the rest of it, or is that all of it? Does it look like it's all of it?
It was all of it's out already, yeah. I haven't seen all of it, so I'm fine with waiting till the end of the season to talk about it if you guys are interested.
Yeah, I didn't know about it, so it's nice to know now, and we can try to check it out since it seems to be at least half a season. So keep an eye out there for those that don't know about it, and I don't know if it's still in theaters. Is Spy Family still out there?
I think it's already. Maybe.
Okay, so Spy.
Because it's been a week now since it was released.
So there was Code White for Spy Family and everything, but other than that, I'd like to thank everyone for staying here. I know it's kind of long today. It should be shorter. Bye bye, Jessica. But
Bye.
Bye, Jessica.
Later.
I'd like to say, feel free to join us. Just put a comment if you want to join us on our discussion, so I can give you our Discord channel later. I don't know. Every time I try to put a link in the description, it doesn't work. So I'll see how I can fix that. But we do have a Discord where Albert posts kind of like episode recaps or episode not recaps, but his own little review on it. And every once in a while, we'll also post a few other fun stuff, like Vinny and his awesome figures, and Dragon and his awesome singing. So.
Oh no, about my singing.
But there's definitely a lot more shows out there that we haven't covered that seem fun, and if maybe let us know about them if we haven't seen them, because we're always looking for something good and we just can't catch everything. Like Data Live, I know there's a season 4 for that. I think there's also another. What was it? There's another show that had another season. There's a lot of continuing seasons, I would say.
I think Data Live is up to season 5 now.
Oh, is it 5? Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
there's so much of
I
that.
know.
So there's a lot of things out there that we just don't have the chance to get, and sometimes as we go through, we drop some stuff, so we might be able to open up to those. But let us know. We really appreciate it, and thank you everyone for joining us. And bye bye.
Bye bye.
How do I stop this?